Welcome back, you beautiful souls. Okay, so no, this is not a new episode to What If Sarah Kerrigan was an MHA or a Zerg in general, but this will have some similar concepts to it. But this is actually the What If I Was in MHA slash What If I Became Deku's father. You got, or a father figure to Deku. You beautiful souls can decide the title of the series down below in the comment section. Also, before you start commenting and liking the vid, please wait until the end because there will be a special questions and stuff asked during that time for the progression of the series. So, a little bit of a backstory. And I kind of went into this with the Sarah Kerrigan one, but the reason why I'm using this thumbnail is because I'm not good with editing and I don't have my laptop right now. Had some things happen. My laptop slash PC kind of burnt up. Power source issue. Getting up fixed later. But I still have my phone, which is the main source of when I record videos. That being said, I'm going to try and do this video in one go. That way I don't have to convert because I've been having issues with the conversion app that I use on my phone. And I no longer have my laptop to do the editing. Speaking of which, I hope the data on that can be recovered because I do have 2 videos on the hard drive. Okay, so our backstory. So, in the MHA universe, Zerg do exist, like in the previous series where I've introduced Zerg into this. But they're advanced, and they're currently in a war. And, well, Earth is kind of like a neutral zone. Both sides have agreed to leave that species alone because of stuff that has happened in the past, which leads to quirks developing on Earth. Not really Zerg or Protoss abilities, but yeah, like not really like Zerg or Protoss relations, but DNA being with by aliens can do some weird to the human population as a whole. So that being said, in this, the Zerg are an evolved form of Zerg, like in What If I Was in Naruto, which I posted 2 weeks ago, I believe. And things will be a little bit different than that. So let's get into this. Okay, so our story starts about 100 years before canon of MHA, on an alien world on the other side of the galaxy. An alien looks at the stars and it grabs its head in pain. What? Where am I? Hold up, these memories. I'm a Zerg. So, after I collect myself, one thought permeates my head. I must go back. I must go to Earth, if it exists. No, wait, my memories. It does exist. And what? The Zerg are at war with the Protoss in this universe? Wait. Okay, so I'm in the StarCraft universe, but these memories, they're different. They don't line up with what I know about my world. Okay, well, so I'm going to have to do this. Okay, time to get to work. After I collect myself and decide on what I'm going to do, I make a definitive choice of going to Earth. So 10 years passed and I've finally gained the power to be able to morph and to travel. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I'll lose my memories temporarily. I may not be able to gain my old memories of the other world back. Hopefully this works out. Well, time to go home, I guess. And I begin to morph my body and evolve, and I change into this weird chrysalis looking thing, and it shoots up into the air. And I begin my long journey to Earth from across the Milky Way galaxy. So we're going to have a time skip, considerable time skip, but storyline, nothing much is observed, but my pod, if you will, is detected entering the Sol system by, well, multiple, like 2 different species. And the Zerg hierarchy is wondering no one was ordered to go there, because this would be an immediate grounds for all-out and total war. And on the Protoss side, they're like, interesting. Send an investigation squad. Valal, you'll be the lead. And with that, a Protoss is going to be heading to Earth. So the time skip happens to about when Deku is 6 years old. And the difference between this Deku and canon Deku, I should say Izuku, just so I don't get confused on later parts with this. Deku, he's about 6.5. He's about 6 years old, and about 6.5 months ago, Izuku's dad passed away on a business trip, and they've had the funeral services, and they've taken care of the insurance and the corporate payout from the company that Hasashi had worked for. And this wasn't some villain attack. This was just a fluke accident with air travel. And yes, it's kind of cliche, but this kind of has to happen for the story to progress the way they want, without it being as gruesome as it would be otherwise. Because I've talked to a few people over Discord about this, and quite frankly, for what to happen, what I want to happen, either both Izuku's parents have to die from me pretty much consuming them, or other stuff has to happen. And I've decided to go the more tamed route with this story. So back to our story. Deku, he's sitting out on their porch, and also in this, they actually live in a house and not an apartment complex. I'm not sure. I think they actually lived in a house before when Izuku was younger, but needless to say, we'll fix that in the second part to this. So Deku's out on his porch, and he sees a meteor streak across the sky and land in the forest outside of, in the back, beyond his backyard. And being a dumb little kid, he decides to go and investigate. And him and Katsuki when they were younger, have played in the woods, so it's not like there's any dangerous animals or anything. Kind of funny, now that I think about it. He decides to go investigate. When, after a little while, Deku comes across this scar in the ground, and he sees the meteor. And he comes across it, and it looks like a weird chrysalis looking rock. And as he gets closer, it almost feels like it's beckoning him to get closer, thinks Deku. He inches closer and closer, and as he gets closer, he starts to feel warmth. Something that he hasn't felt in a while since before his dad, and well, it's kind of akin to when his mother embraced him when he found out his father had died. As Deku reaches out and touches the rock, he hears, "Thank you, Izuku, Midoriya. I'm finally home." As a bright light engulfs Deku and the rock, when the light clears and Deku sees a man standing in front of him, he shouts, "Dad?" And the man then speaks. "No, I'm not your dad." As he grabs his head and he screams out in pain. Are you okay, sir?" "Yes, but my memories, they're all foggy, but I'm sure I'm not who I am, but I know I'm not your father. I'm sorry, young man, but where am I?" And then Deku proceeds to explain what had happened, and then the man kind of composes himself, and he's like, "I'm sorry to worry you, young man, but what? I'm in Japan." "Sorry about that. Wait, I'm in Japan, but that means this is definitely Earth, but wait a minute. Izuku Midoriya, I know that name. Midoriya, that name seems familiar, young man. Could we perhaps be related or something?" "Well, I'm not sure, sir, but my house is right over there." As Izuku points to a building off in the distance with a porch light on. And it's like, "I'm sorry to ask this, but do you think I could... Do you think your family would be able to call for help, like an ambulance or something?" And the reason why I'm saying this is because the process of literally breaking down my DNA and morphing it into a space-worthy craft, and anyone that knows about Zerg, their spacecraft are bioorganic. They're actually living entities. And the reason, and also the acclimation of Izuku's DNA kind of made me look like an older version. So I was mistaken by him for a brief moment as being his dad, because I do look kind of similar. Not exactly to Sashi, but there are a few resemblance because of Izuku's human DNA mixing with my Zerg DNA. I'm not what you would call a hybrid, but at the same time, I'm not entirely Zerg. It's more like... It would be more like the... I will bring that up in the next video. But needless to say, I'm still Zerg in this. And I've lost my memories of actually knowing that this is MHA. But over the years, things will slowly come back. So we make our way to the young boy's house, and many of you are probably thinking, it's like, "Oh, this is kind of creepy, meeting a dude in the forest. It's a little weird." But no, it's literally from Izuku's mind, like, this is a person that needs help. And the warmth that he feels, like, kind of coming off of it, he kind of feels that I mean him no threat, and I actually don't, so there's that. And the young boy says, "Well, my mom may be able to help you." And then I ask him, "You still think this is wise?" And Izuku's like, yeah, Mom might freak out though. So we skip to the Midoriya residence. And Izuku enters the home and it's like, Mom, I met someone that needs some help. And Inko comes walking out of the kitchen with like a pot of food. Basically, she had cooked dinner and this was around dinner time. But it was still wasn't completely dark, but it was twilight. Who is it? As she meets eyes, she drops the pot of food. And, well, I go and catch it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, ma'am. Your son? He said I look like you're his father. And my apologies if I startled you. But I've lost... As I set the pot down on the table. My mind... I can't think just straight. I think something happens. Something grand. Sorry, ma'am, but is it too much to ask for you to call an ambulance? Ingo, after getting over the initial shock of seeing someone that looks like her dead husband, a little bit, says, yes, sorry about that, immediately calls the medical professionals. An ambulance comes out, they take me to the hospital. After a few days of running tests, they find out that there's no records of me existing. But that's not quite rare because it has happened before, because of villains abducting people and changing them. Or like people like getting abducted and then being nefarious reasons, having children and everything that could be potentially. So the government is getting involved, and also Inko and Izuku have visited me a couple of times, and I have slowly started to remember the Zerg memories, and it's beginning to freak me out. And I'm thinking, it's like, no, if they find out, would they actually accept me? I gave up so much to come here. I even risked war. All out war, I put my homeworld at risk. So after a while, after about a month of me being in the hospital, government officials have come and they've set me up with an identity and a little bit of a stipend to kind of get everything ready. And they have told me over the next 6 months to a year they'll still run some tests, and I will be watched because my quote unquote quirk is very interesting. A mutation quirk, yet a transformation quirk. Because I don't look like a normal human, well, as far as normal humans go in the MHA world. So, after I was deemed to not have any contagious diseases, and I wasn't a threat, and I wasn't actually a villain, because they have had someone come in and mind probe me, and I have been able to prevent them from seeing other memories, the fact that I'm an alien. But they did set me up with an identity and the stipend, like I said, and I decided to get an apartment close to the Midoriyas because for some reason I feel an intense pull towards the young Izuku. Not in a weird, not in a adult looking at kids way. It's more like, I'm not sure if any of you have dealt with people with amnesia, but usually the person that they see afterwards, they kind of develop a bond with that person. It's more like these are the first people that came to, plus with the Zerg memories, it's like, wow, I need to protect these people. Because usually, when a Zerg does this, it's usually a process to evolve like that, to change your DNA on such a drastic scale. At least for a normal Zerg. But that being said, there is a class system in the Zerg in this universe. So I start my life in over the next several years. I've been helping Izuku out. I've become more of like an uncle towards him. And the first time Mitsuki saw me, she nearly had a heart attack like Inko, but then Inko introduced me as a relative, because during the DNA test it does show that there is somewhat of a familial bond with me and Izuku, but there's not with Inko, because they did test that just to be safe, to make sure there wasn't some weird crap going on or a villain thing. And I do still get followed and checked in by government officials. I'm closely watched and monitored. And so over the years, with me helping Izuku out, Izuku does get bullied during this time for being quirkless. And memories of me being able to basically assimilate other life forms do start to propagate into my head. And I thought of me giving Izuku a life seed. Now, many of you have asked about this, and I'm not sure if I explained it in a previous video of an update, but a life seed basically is seed of life is basically a portion of the Zerg's power, or portion of the Zerg biomass that holds a portion of their power in it, and they kind of give it to another entity. Like, it can be either an animal or a higher evolved life like humans or Protoss. And basically it gives them Zerg-like abilities and also makes them hybrid in a sense. And so that thought does pop into my head. And so about 2 years after my arrival, I sit down and talk to Ingo, and I'm like, Ingo-san, young Izuku, he's getting bullied, isn't he? And she's like, yeah, but I don't know what to do. And then I ask her, she's like, how would you feel if I started training the young boy? You know, teaching him a little bit of hand-to-hand combat. I've started to remember more and more of my past lately, and, well, there's been a few people that I've known that haven't had any abilities, but through training they were able to defend themselves in a sense. And Ingo asked me, like, why would you do that for us? I mean, you've already helped us out. You even help Izuku out with his homework on nights that I'm unable to watch him. You take care of him. And I tell her, it's like, I don't know. I just, for some reason, the young boy reminds me of a younger me. In a way. And she agrees to this. So, after about 2 years, so Izuku is about 8 years old at this time. And over the next 2 years, Izuku is going to be doing some weightlifting and cardio and conditioning, and he's going to be a little bit stronger. He's also going to have way better nutrition because Inko, being the type of mother she is, would look up ways to like help his growth, like what's the best diet for someone who's lifting weights and working out. So Izuku does grow a few more inches. He's about 2 inches taller than he is in canon at this point. And over these 2 years, I talk with Izuku and mentor him more and basically explain to him it doesn't matter what your old friend thinks of you. What matters is what you think of yourself. If you don't like what you are now, then change it. Improve yourself. Evolve yourself into a better being. See what I did there? So Izuku slowly gets this, and well, after about a year of this, things between me and Inko start to get a little weird. Looks and stuff start to happen between the two. And mind you, at this time, I still have the Zerg memories, and I believe I'm not human, but there are flashes of memories of the two that just don't exist, that shouldn't happen. And I just chalk this up as just a weird hallucination, partly taking in human DNA and everything. So, that being said, it slowly begins, and eventually we do start having like dates in here. And after about a year of this, I finally had enough of it from hiding it from the two. And well, I talked to Inko, just like, Inko, we should tell Izuku about our relationship. And well, I'm not entirely sure, but there's also something else I should discuss with you two. And Izuku, he's quirkless, but there's a way for him to get power. So with that, Izuku's told to come home from school right after school because there's something important we have to discuss with him. And the whole day, Inko is kind of worried about what I have to tell her. And I'm a little bit worried about this too, because this could potentially ruin a life that I could have on this planet, is what I'm thinking. And well, towards the end of the day, Izuku arrives and he comes in. He greets his mom, and then there's a knock at the door. And Izuku goes and answers it, and he's like, "Oh, it's Uncle." One moment. Sorry about that. I had a phone call. I believe, yeah, I was right. Izuku just answered the door. Oh, it's Uncle Akira. And so Inko welcomes me in, and we sit Izuku down. And this is when we tell him, it's like, Izuku, how would you feel about us dating? And Izuku, he looks up at us and he's like, well, it would be a little weird, but Uncle Akira, he's a good guy, Mom, and I think Dad would want you to move on and not be hung up on his death. But you also said there's something that you need to tell us, Uncle Akira? And this is when I kind of look down and sweat kind of comes down like my forehead. And Inko's like, what is it? And I look at them both, and my eyes begin to glow a purplish color. And I tell them, and it's like, this is something I've just recently realized. I'm not human. And this is when Izuku sitting there with a dumb look on his face, like, huh? And Inko's like, what do you mean you're not human? Kind of a little worried. And then I go, I mean, I'm from a different world. I'm not human. Well, it's not entirely true. But needless to say, my kind, I'm not from this planet originally. Inko then nearly faints, and well, she does faint. After she wakes up, I kind of have placing a wet towel on her forehead, and I tell her, it's like, you probably don't believe me, do you? And Inko's like, well, it would make sense with how you acted the first night we met, but... And then I say, what, you're not freaked out by this? And Inka's like, yeah, I'm a little freaked out. You say that you're an alien, and, well, what is your purpose here? And I turn and look at Izuku, and I'm like, well, our kind, we have these things called life seeds, and if young Izuku accepts it, he'll gain immense power. He'll be able to become a hero. And with this, I had to tell Izuku to go to his room to kind of let us speak, because this is going to be an adult conversation. And she's like, you really don't mean us any harm, do you? And I'm like, yeah, my world is at war with another species, and I had to get out of there. I was tired of all the killing. I was tired of all the war. I want to live a life that I can just exist and not have to worry. Well, I'm still worried about the whole war thing coming to your world. And if that happens, I want to make sure that Izuku will be safe. And with this, I've never done this before, and we get one of them. We get one of these special life seeds in a while. It basically gives 5% of our power, and the other person, they can evolve that power into something even greater than what our power at the time was. I'm willing to do this with Izuku, but besides that, what about us? Is there still potentially a way for us to see each other? I know this is a lot to take in, Inko, but you have to agree to... You don't even have to agree to life seed. I don't know. Well, I'll get going. You can discuss things with Izuku, and let me know tomorrow. And if you decide it's not accepted, and you decide that I'm a monster, I'll leave this world and not endanger you guys even any further. But what I can remember, that's probably already too late. So the next morning, I get a text, and it's from Izuku, and he's like, aren't you coming over today? You were supposed to help me out with homework. And I text him, was like, that's not really up to me, Izuku. It's up to your mom. She's the one that needs to decide if I can come over or not. And then Izuku, basically, he's looking at his phone. He's a little upset. He's like, is it because he said he wasn't human, or is it because something happened? He goes downstairs, he asks his mom, and he's like, Mom, why can't Uncle Akira come over? He's supposed to help me with my homework today. And she looks at him, and she's like, I'm not sure, baby. Let me think about it again a little bit more. I've been up all night and trying to process everything that I learned last night. I'm sorry, baby. Okay, Mom. Well, I've got to get going to club meeting. I
joined a club yet the week, and we were supposed to meet up later today. So I should probably get going if Uncle Akuta's not going to come over. So with that, Izuku leaves, and then I look down about an hour after Izuku leaves. My phone rings, and it's Inko, and she's like, can you come over now? Izuku's gone. There's a lot I want to say to you. So I come over, I ring the doorbell, and Inko answers it. She says, come in. And I come in, she says, please sit, as she brings, tea over. And she's like, I'm sorry. What you said last night about you not being human, it shocked me, but then what you said about you fleeing a war-torn world, it kind of made sense why you would come here. And then I say, Inko, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to lie to you these years. I couldn't remember. I had amnesia, and there's still things that are foggy, but I know what I said, it's true. It's up to the individual. It's how our species has evolved into what we are now. I'm not gonna lie. If it was any other Zerg, world would probably already be completely infested now, but my people were evolved further than that. We've been able to work out a tangible peace somewhat with the others. But what I said, it's true. I do not mean your world any harm. I just want to be left alone. I know I could be a hero with my abilities, but I don't want to do that. Inko walks over and places her hand on mine. She's like, I'm sorry, it's about us, not about us. I'm not sure about that anymore, but you said you could help my little boy become a hero. Is that true? And I tell her, like, yes, if anything, I know that would work. And it wouldn't change his personality, it would just change his physical being. Sort of how mine changed after. And I stop, and her eye kind of widens. Her eye kind of lifts up, and she's like, after what? And I'm just like, it's not really important. It's kind of how our species evolves. So Izuku, he can take the life seed? And she's like, yeah, I agree to that, but if anything, I'm not sure about it. And I reassure her, and it's like, okay, well, if you don't know about us, at least let me still be in a young boy's life. Gives me fond memories of something from a past life or something. I don't know, it's just, I have this intense urge to protect him. And I'm getting bullied. Yeah, he's stronger, but without power in this world, he's only going to get himself hurt. So later on that day, after Izuku gets home, he notices that I'm there, and he's like, Uncle Akira, you're here. I thought you and Mom had a fight. And we tell him, it's like, no, it's just, there's something we need to speak with you about. Is it about you two being together? And we're like, no, it's something else. And I look at Inko, and I tell her, it's like, you sure about this? And she says, yes, I consent to it. And so I tell Izuku, follow me. And I walk out of the back into their backyard. And I look up at the sky, and Izuku asks me, it's like, what's going on? Akira-san. And I tell him, he's like, walk with me, boy. Walk with me. There's a lot I need to tell you. And on the way to where we initially met, we get to the scar, and then Izuku is a little shocked, and he's like, so you're not human, and you're from a different world. And you want to give me a quirk. Is that correct? But quirks can't be transferred. And I tell Izuku, well, it's not really a quirk. It's more of a... Well, you can think of it as a quirk in a way. But do you accept this offer, young man? If you take it, you will become the protector of your world. You'll be the one in charge of its destiny. And Izuku looks me in the eyes, and my eyes are glowing purple. And my face is kind of morphed back to my original Zerg look. And he's a little startled by this. And I tell him, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to startle you with that. It's just, I have to do this in order to gift it. And Izuku looks at me and he's like, oh no, like the change in your face was what startled me. Not how you look. I mean, for Christ's sakes, we have people running around with, like, eyes bulging out and, like, they straight up look like aliens, so you don't look any weirder than normal. But you sure you want to do this? Wouldn't that risk you being found out? And then I explained to him, well, we can explain this in such a way. So he accepts it. And then we walk back to the house, and I inform Inko I'm not going to give it to him until after school's over. There's at least a month period of where he's going to be kind of comatose. And she's like, you said it wouldn't hurt him. And I tell him, and I'm sure it's not going to hurt him, but he's not going to be able to go to school or do anything for about a month. He's going to be in a cocoon-like thing for a while. And with this, there are a few other humans that I've talked to about this. Needless to say, a particular hero, because of, well, an incident that happened a month prior, which is why I wanted to do this. And he knows that I'm not human, but he's like, you aren't a threat to our world, so as long as you continue to do that, then we won't have any issues. Some of you can probably already guess this, but yeah. So that at the end of the school year, Izuku he tells a few of the friends that he has been able to make. Some of the less fortunate kids as far as quirks go that are still called useless. And he tells them that he's going to be untouchable for a month. He's going to be training, and he's going to be unreachable for a while. So when Izuku gets home that day, he's smiling. And, well, over this month, me and Inko have talked, and we're going to take things slow, but she's a little off-put by it, but from how I've acted, she doesn't really know how to feel about it, but she still is kind of interested, because I did take a big risk. I could have gone the whole time not telling her and everything. So mind you, at this point has been over 4 years, and I have acclimated to human life. And, well, this is when things really are going to start changing for the young Midoriya. So I explained to her that over the month, I've explained to her how we're going to explain Izuku's changing. Basically, it's already been on record that me and Izuku do share a familial bond, and while my quirk went haywire, and it activated his dormant quirk, and it has similar abilities to mine. Basically enhanced endurance, senses, strength, also other like transformation abilities, but mainly the mutation stuff. And he will get tested for these, basically. So the day comes and Inko's there, and we're in the living room, and my eyes begin to glow, and my face morphs back to a more non-human look. My hair grows weird and spiky, more like not tendrils, but more spiky. Like the hair becomes more claw-like, and my body begins to morph. It changes form, like it becomes armor-plated. And I take my hand and I reach into my chest, and it gives way, and a small but unassuming little ball of flesh is sitting there, and it's glowing purple. My eyes are glowing purple, and I look at the young Izuku, and I'm like, young man, do you truly want to do this? Because once you do this, you'll no longer be human. And Izuku looks at me, and he's like, Mom, you sure this is okay? Are you okay with this, Mom? Are you really okay? And Inko is taken aback by this, and she's like, yes, it's okay, baby. So, full stop here. The reason why, over the 4 years in this whole thing, is because I have saved Inko and Izuku a couple of times. Like, they'd be crossing, and I stop a car and have got my photo taken and picture. And when interviewed, someone's like, no, I don't want to be a hero. I just want to be left alone. Buzz off. So, that being said, it's not that all of this came out of the blue, but there are moments and stuff that I will go into, but I didn't feel like doing a whole 2-hour part 0 with this, and this is just going to be a part 0. So I place the ball on Izuku's chest, and it immediately envelops him. And Inko's a little freaked out by this, but I assure that he's fine. He's just going to be like this for a month. So after about a month, they do. Inko has called in a medical professional to kind of look at this, because we explained that my quirk went haywire one day and my memory started to come back, but I still can't remember who I am entirely. And basically, Izuku did have a dormant quirk, and my quirk kind of jump-started it. And I explained when my abilities first appeared, like, this happened to me too. So with the whole familial bond thing, they're like, okay, this makes sense that this would kind of happen. A dormant quirk with the Midoriyas, and, well, a previous Midoriya that has a completely different ability than what the father had, but it's believable. So a month goes and comes past, and Izuku emerges, and, well, Inko's is there in the living room. We've moved his cocoon to his room. Inko hears like a loud crash upstairs, and she gets startled. She immediately runs in, and she's like, Izuku, are you okay, Izuku? And Deku, he goes, oh, Mom, I don't feel too good, as he immediately pukes up a bunch of fluid and everything. And she runs over, and she immediately pulls out her phone and shoots me a text. It's like, he's awake. And I'm all the way on the other side of the town. I immediately transform into my battle mode, let's call it that, and begin to jump across the buildings. And I'm stopped by a hero, and he's like, "You there, stop. Using your quirk in public is against the law." And I look at him and I'm like, "Oh, it's you again. It's All Might. I thought you weren't going to be back here for a while." After the whole fight, and he looks around and he's like, "You wait, Akira?" And I'm like, "Yeah, family emergency. I'm sorry, but I really have to go." Immediately jump away. And I shoot Ingo a text. "I'll be there in a few minutes. I'm on the other side of town." So I arrive, and Izuku is sitting downstairs, and he's different, noticeably different. And I ask him, it's like, "So, are you still you?" Just like, wasn't 100% sure on it. And Inko just glares at me. He's like, "What?" And I explained to her, it's like, "Well, there was a small chance he could die or lose his mind completely. I'm sorry, but it was so negligible, I didn't think it was worth mentioning. I'm sorry. As she proceeds to hit me across the head with a frying pan. And I go, "Ow, yeah, I deserved that." And Deku's like, "Mom, stop. I'm still me. And I get it, Akira-san. I get what you were saying. This feeling, this rush." And then I tell him, it's like, "Well, now some training is in need. You're going to have to learn to mask this form, because if you just walk around like this, people will assume you're a villain." Kinda had a little run-in with a hero earlier. And mind you, I understand Izuku is a fan of All Might, and well, I have had a couple of run-ins with All Might. He kinda knows about it, the secret of me being not human, but he doesn't know entirely what that entails. He just thinks I'm kind of an animal or something that evolved, like I had a hyper evolution quirk or something. He wasn't really too clear when I explained it, and I wasn't too sure about it myself. So over the next month or so, during like the break Izuku had from school, I teach him how to control his ability to morph his body. And he's able to go into a non-battle state, but he still has about 2 times his. He still has about a. Right now, he has about 1.25 times what his strength would normally be in this non-transformed state. And he notices that he can hear, that his hearing has improved, his sense of smell has improved, and his eyesight. And well, unlike my eyes, when he activates his quote-unquote quirk, his eyes glow green. Like Kerrigan's here in the photo, where her eyes are purple, his are green. And that's about the only similarities. And he's a little, after this month, he thanks me, and he's like, "I don't know what I can do, Akira-san, to thank you for giving me this power." And I tell him, he's like, "Young Midoriya, you're going to have to train to control your urges. There are certain aspects of it." And Izuku's like, "Yeah, the rage, right? Yeah, you've got to temper that. It's just something I deal with on a daily basis. Just seeing suffering in this world. I don't want to be a hero, but I also don't want this world to end."
And Izuku then kind of places his hand on my shoulder because I am sitting down, and he's like, "That's not going to happen, Hakata-san. Between the both of us, if they ever come here, we'll make sure to kick their ass off our planet." And with that, you beautiful souls, I'm going to end this here. You don't have to worry about a like goal for this, because later on today I will put a part B out for this. Or no, actually I'll put a part 1 out, because this will be part 0. And so comment down below if Izuku should gain a sibling in this. I know this one was great deal more slice of life than my previous what ifs, but this will be an ongoing what if. And I am going to be getting to other what ifs, but like I said, I did have other videos, and I had a power supply issue with my laptop, and it kind of screwed some things up, and I have to get a new one, and hopefully I can recover data off of that. But I figured I should actually sit down and do this script for this part. But let me know if in a couple of years Izuku gains a sibling or not. I mentioned it to someone on Discord, and they said, yeah, but I want to give all you beautiful souls the chance of this. And also, in the next part, I will go more over the power and abilities that Zerg have. Well, at least what Izuku will have. That being said, like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you beautiful souls in the next video, which will be out later on today.